And welcome back to another episode of Life in Prison. My name is Zach. And for any of you that's new to the channel, welcome. While you at it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button now. I give you time at the end, give you little tasters so you know what you're getting yourself into. So today, what we're going to be getting into is a little different. We're going to be looking at the pros and the cons of prison. Just because I've realized, you talk about prison, there's a lot of negative, a lot of negative in prison, but you have to realize that there's also plenty of positives. So today we're going to be going on the fence, going back and forth. So the first negative that you have about going to prison, it's not so much while you're at prison. Personally, this is me personally. It's not so much the negative while I was in prison, because I dealt with a lot of stuff. I feel that it's been harder getting out, and by that I mean, if you don't have a wife, and if you don't have kids or a girl to stress over, you have nothing to worry about. You have no bills. You have no responsibilities. You can have a job in there if you want. If not, then you really don't have any responsibilities in there. So you can really go through a prison sentence just not worrying about anything at all. Literally not worrying about anything. But whenever you have all these other things start to come into play, that's when you start stressing out. Say if you got a wife, is she at home? Is she being faithful? Is she going to work? Is she supporting herself? Is she supporting our kids? If you were to have kids, is she taking care of the kids? Is she feeding the kids? Is there a roof over the kids' head? Is there going to be food in the kids' stomach? Is there going to be clothes on the kids' backs? There's a lot of things that, factor in to one individual going to prison. Just because you go to prison doesn't mean that it's just your life that's affected. Now, if you have a family, now everybody's affected. Say, for instance, right, that you're head of the household, okay? So, say you get in trouble because you might have some drugs on you, or you might have a gun that you might not supposed to. Anything. You go to prison, okay? Or you go to jail. Now, who's going to support your family? Now, you're on the phone, calling home, asking for money. Where's this money coming from? There's been many times where I've seen grown men on the phone cussing their moms out, cussing their baby moms out, cussing their wives out, cussing their kids out, cussing their dads out, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, you name it, and they've all been cussed out because they can't send money in now. I feel like a lot of inmates put pressure on the family a lot, especially ones that say that they like getting high. Or they like gambling, for instance. I've seen dudes on a regular basis blow through $50 and upwards of $500-$600 a week calling home. Hey, that's great if you're able to get money like that from home. But don't make people feel bad on the streets while you're in prison just to send them money. I've seen dudes lie about needing to pay these people for protection, making their family feel bad for them, thinking that they're going to get beat up or stabbed, and then send them money on a regular basis, and then now they support themselves, buying the drugs that they want. I didn't have any wife, I don't have any kids. The only thing I stressed really was my parents' health. As I said in an older video, that I was adopted when I was 3 by a older white couple. They had two biological daughters. And they adopted me, back in 1992, 93. So I've been with them for a very, very long time. I'm now 32. So you can do the math. I was adopted when I was 3. I'm 32 now. So bada boom, bada bang. My mom's had strokes, multiple heart attacks, broken multiple bones. They're very much accident prone, but they don't let it slow them down, and that's their issue, because they're coming off this injury, going right into another one. So the only thing I really stressed was their health, more or less. My mindset was get as big as you can and get as many tattoos as you can. That's the only thing I had in my mind. I didn't feel like I needed to reform anything. I didn't feel like I needed to take any classes. I was mad at everybody else except for myself, considering I was the one that put myself in the situation. I'm the one that slipped out the handcuffs at the sheriff's department. I'm the one that ran from the cops for weeks on end. I'm the one that, beat dude up. I'm the one that took this from him. I'm the one that ran away with this. Like, after a while, I started to realize, who am I blaming but myself? No matter who I blame, I'm still in this situation. You can't blame anybody else for the situation that you're in. Now, don't get me wrong. There's many circumstances where people have been blamed and have been charged for things they really didn't do. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that know what they did and they still try to blame everybody else because they can't take responsibility. I feel like prison is, it either goes one or two ways. You can go into, I would say a couple more ways than that, actually. So you can go into prison wanting to better yourself, right? Or you can go into prison and seeing the begin date and then seeing the end date and letting everything else just fall into place. If you go in there not wanting to change anything at all, then most likely this is what's going to happen. Most likely you're going to go in, catch a bunch of write-ups, eventually you'll get out, and then you'll come right back. Like, literally, you'll come right back. And for any of you guys that have been locked up and know exactly what it's like, and then for those who never been locked up, and I hope you never find out what it's like, as much as people like to say it, they say once in your system, it's a revolving door. You keep getting locked up. That's not a real good statistic, just because everybody's different. There's certain people that keep going back, and there's certain ones that have done 8 hours in jail for a DUI, went their whole lives, never been locked back up again. Me personally, I can say that I feel the reason why I kept getting in trouble over and 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 over again is because now that I look back on it, I feel it was because at first I was getting away with doing this, kicking this door in, kicking that door in, you know what I mean? And there's no repercussions. And then whenever I did start getting hit with other things, started getting told on for other cases, whenever I would come up to courts, it was kind of like a slap on the wrist. At the beginning, obviously, they wanted to give you a chance, and that's good. They shouldn't take that away because it works for certain individuals. But I kept getting slapped on the wrist. 2 months in the jail here, 6 months in the jail here, 8 months in the jail here, a year in the jail here. And then finally they're like, okay, we've given you all these chances. You've decided to not take advantage of them, so now you're going to prison. I sent myself there. But it took me years for myself to accept that I put myself there. Once I realized that, I started really listening. And I'm not just talking about to my parents. I'm not talking about my lawyers. I'm talking about listening to everybody, because everyone's got a story. Everyone's got knowledge, everyone's got wisdom, everyone's been somewhere in life, and if you listen, maybe if you come up to those situations that you've heard about, you might be able to slide around and not get into any circumstances that could be a negative outcome on your life. All you have to do is listen. Just because you may not think that information that you're taking in is valuable, take it in and store it at least. At the minimum, take the information that you're hearing and store it for later. Then recall that, and it might be beneficial to your life. Most of those guys don't have their GED. Most of the guys don't take drug courses. Most of those guys don't take anger management courses. Most of those guys don't take any parenting courses. Most of those guys do not hold a job. Most of those guys are the ones that sit on the pod talking about the life that they never used to live, that they think that they used to live years ago. But of course, this is after 4 or 5 prison bids. Get out for 6 months, come back for violation. Get out for 2 weeks, go back in for a couple months for violation. And it's back and forth and back and forth. And they never try to do anything. Now, everyone's in different circumstances, and you are a product of your environment. So if you can't get out of, say, the slums, or if you can't get out from a bad part of town, it's hard to break a cycle. As on the streets is in prison, it's hard to break a cycle. So if you can't break a cycle on the streets, whether it's getting high or stealing, toting guns, selling drugs, prostitution, whatever it may be, right? If you can't kick that cycle, the moment you go in, if you're on a routine and on another cycle in prison, then it's literally going to be a revolving door. As I said, I knew I had a long road ahead of me. So my mind was, yes, it was tattoos, and yes, it was hitting the weight pile, but it was me wanting to make a name for myself. I'm gonna be blatantly honest with you. I wanted to make a name for myself, and I didn't want it. I didn't want it to be a feared name. I just wanted people to respect me. I wanted people to, whenever they spoke on my name, to be like, white boy he was a good dude. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do no fuck shit. I've talked in other videos on people doing dummy missions. What I can say is I never went on any dummy mission. And the reason being is because most of the time I had offered to go and do certain things. You know what I mean? Anger issues? Yeah. Definitely got anger problems. I'm not going to lie. I have anger problems. I did the anger management courses. I did all courses that I could through prison. I wasn't allowed to take the business course because I did the Associates in Business program at Blue Ridge Community College from 2009 to 2011. So those credits that I had, you can't get double of the same credit. They wouldn't let me take those courses because I already had all that stuff. So I wasn't allowed to do that. Cybersecurity, they had like a cyber program at Mount Olive. I wasn't allowed to do that because it was on an outside building. Let's see. The car workshop, I couldn't do that because it was outside the fence. And mind you, for classification wise and West Virginia prison systems, if you're classified as a 1, that means that you can go to work release prisons where there's no fence. There's absolutely no fence around these prisons at all. As in, you can walk out of the prison doors and walk straight into society, walk into a gas station and buy some food and walk around and congregate with actual people, not prisoners. Places like that. So when you get classified in like a 2 and a 3, Perny Town, you've got Northern Regional, you've got St. Mary's, Salem, um, Denmark. I was never able to go to any of these places ever. These are classifications 1 to like 3. After you become a 3 and up, then you start going to Huttonsville and then Mount Olive. So since I was classified as a 5 the whole time, I was maximum security prison. So when I was at Huttonsville, I was single cell the whole time, which was great. It was love. You gotta love the single cell. You don't have to worry about anybody. And then when you finally get to Mount Olive, the only way you're having a single cell in Mount Olive is if you have life without parole. So then I did have to dorm with somebody or bunk with somebody, and that was the old dude named Ben I used to talk about. But with me not being able to get outside of any fences, with me being classified as a security risk for affiliation and for an escape charge, I couldn't go and get these jobs where electrical work. You could do electricity. You could do welding courses. You could do automotive, and you could work at the tags up in Mount Olive. They make the license plates for all of West Virginia residents. So if you have a West Virginia tag, someone up in prison made that tag for you. You're welcome. So I wasn't allowed to do any of that. So now in my head I'm like, okay, so I can't do actual things where I can leave out of prison with a certification to better my life. Alright. So I'll take these little anger management courses and a parenting course. Even though I have no kids, it still looks good for the parole board. I took a few courses. Culinary, couldn't get into that. They be eating good. That's the only reason why people join that stuff, because they eat actual food and they bake cakes and they eat fried chicken, like some real good ass shit in prison that you ain't never gonna get. So what I focused on was trying to retain as much knowledge as I could for anything and everything. I read book after book after book, and I spoke with multiple hundreds and thousands of individuals, just listening to stories and hearing things, because I already knew when I got out, my plan when I got out was to work at Quad Graphics. That was the first thing in my head. I'd actually gotten out and started working at a place called Royal Vendors. And what that place did was they rebuilt soda machines. I worked there for a few months, got fired, and went and worked at Quad Graphics. Worked there for a few months. Then they started cutting hours. I'm like, I just moved out. Because when I first got out of prison, I had moved it back in with my parents' house, obviously. And then started working from there, bought a car, and then moved out and started renting a room. So when they cut the hours, I'm like, I can't, this isn't going to work. So I started building roof trusses. After I built roof trusses for, a little over a year, that's when I finally ended up going to school, ended up going to medical school and, getting my medical assistance degree, which now has put me in an urgent care. But one of the cons from prison, okay, there's a lot of things that you can focus on while in prison for when you get out, that you'll be prepared and you'll be ready. But it's the moment that you get out, okay? And this is why I don't wish prison upon anybody. I don't wish anybody to ever get locked up. It's because when you get out and you fill out these applications, these job applications, and when you turn in your resume and they ask these questions, they'll look at you and say, have you ever been convicted of a crime, whether it be a misdemeanor or a felony. Don't lie. Do not lie on that stuff. I don't care what people tell you. Do not lie on that stuff. But what the bad part is that when you're actually truthful, right, it comes back to bite you in the butt. So even though my charges were only in West Virginia, okay, that's the only place I've ever caught any criminal charges was West Virginia. After I got out, serving my 5-year sentence, wasn't on parole, wasn't on probation, did my sentence done, killed my whole sentence, done and over with, alright? The only places that would really hire you was warehouse jobs. And those are the types of jobs that it's good money, but you're literally killing yourself. Since I like people, right? I like talking to people. I like meeting new people. And I like trying to help people to the best of my ability, alright? I was going to go back for HVAC. But then I got to realizing at the end of the day, I'm doing the same thing. Like, okay, I'm outside here in the elements building roof trusses, or I could be outside in the element fucking with fans and blowers and whatever the fuck they do. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was okay, yeah, I'm not going to do that. The medical field is perfect because they always need somebody. Forever and for always. As long as you have people that are living, you're going to need people to help them keep living, right? So I ended up going back for that. After finishing the program, pretty good GPA, a great attendance, and the moment I started looking for jobs was the moment I realized how much bullshit that they feed you in prison about wanting to do hard work. And the reason being is I'm not able to get a job in West Virginia. I'm not able to get a job in Virginia. The moment that they look at my resume and run my background, they can love me in interviews. There's been multiple jobs where I had the job. Like, the job was mine, right? The job is yours. You got it. We love you. Here, this is yours. Sign here. 1 week later. Oh, so we're going to have to go in a different direction, The position that you were, applying for, there seems to have been another candidate that comes along and, they're a little bit more qualified. That job has fell through your fucking fingers. And at first you think, okay, yeah, it's because someone else came by with more experience. Then after a while, when you get that back to back, you get to realize it. And then that's when you start asking questions. That's when I would up front be like, look, let's cut the bullshit. I'm a convicted felon. Has nothing to do with what this job entitles. Has nothing to do with anything violent. Has nothing to do with anything drug related. So, with that being said, since the job requirements and all the specifications for what you're wanting fits exactly into what I'm qualified for. So just because I have these felonies has nothing to do with this.
We love to help the underdog.
The ones up there, the ones higher, they're not going to like that. Motherfucker, you are the hiring manager. So who the fuck is telling you? You're the one that puts that pen to that paper and then puts the ink down saying, yes, that's my shit. So what higher ups? I want you to picture you going away, okay? Now your girl is messing with your homeboy, alright? All these dudes that you was getting money with and all these dudes that she was looking out for, right? That's gone. They're not going to hit you up. They're not going to write you. They're not going to answer your calls. They're not going to put money on your books. Oh, that's a fuck no. Don't expect any money, all right? So when you out here with your homeboys slinging dope, right? And you out here toting guns, right? If you're going to ride for your homeboy and take a charge for him, and then he don't fuck with you after you bite that charge for him, now you sitting in prison mad as fuck, right? They doing something that they expect that other person to do back, right? Wrong, absolutely wrong. Hundreds of people, and I mean, I'm not just saying this, I mean, I've met hundreds of people that have taken charges for their homeboys. You know what I'm saying? I've met a few people that have caught murder charges and they're never getting out for their homeboys. And these homeboys is now with they girls, married with kids now, because they ain't never getting out. Be careful what you do. Always think long term. What's going to happen 2 years down the road from here? What's going to happen 5 years down the road? What's going to happen next week if I do this? There's a lot of different things that, as I said, may be small now. Maybe real small now. But if it keeps growing and growing and bigger and bigger and bigger, if you're the one that takes the bullet, you're the one that's dead. Ain't nobody taking that bullet for you. You're stuck. Because you was looking out for somebody else that had no intentions of looking out for you. Unfortunately, it's real hard to catch the ones that won't have your back. You know, you always think that the ones that have been around the longest are always the ones that are more dedicated, right? Found out that the hard way recently. You know what I'm saying? Someone that held a lot of, someone I had a lot of respect for, come find out is a real grindball. Eventually it'll come out, right? Eventually I'll be able to tell you guys the whole story, and hopefully everything falls into place. That way I can make a real good point as to why I did what I did. The least that you could fucking do is try to take some class, take some courses, try to do anything, try to perfect something. There's people that I know that are artists now, and I mean artists, really, really making masterpieces. Some do woodwork that are awesome carpenters now. Some are training dogs. Some are making music. People are taking opportunities and learning the business aspect of businesses. They're learning culinary stuff, you know. No matter what anybody says or does, at the end of the day, if you try to make them happy, why are you going to go your whole life trying to make others happy instead of trying to live your life to make yourself happy? I've seen a lot of people do certain things that they've regretted, trying to fit in with these people or trying to make these people happy. But now no one's around them anymore because they were doing it for the wrong thing. Go your life trying to better yourself, trying to better the ones around you. Don't go trying to impress others, because at the end of the day, if you're super successful, right? Look at these billionaires. People hate them. They're very successful. People hate them. Look at a homeless man on the side of the street. May have lost everything in a divorce, may have been cheated on and she took everything. Some of these homeless people actually don't choose to be homeless, but they might have a disability and now they literally can't work. People hate on them, call them bums, call them stink trash, whatever. Like, get a fucking job, whatever. It doesn't matter if you're up here or if you're down here. People are gonna fucking hate you. Like, for no reason. And it's most of the time the people that don't even know you that are quick to hate you the fastest. I want you to always want to do things to better your life. If you're always trying to bring your homeboy up, right? If you're always trying to bring your homeboy up, who's going to bring you up? Because you got to remember, you can't always count on everybody else. Don't go into life automatically assuming that someone's going to be there for you and someone's going to have your back. Say you've gone your life without doing anything bad. You're driving down the road. Someone else doesn't know how to drive. Someone else is drunk, right? Someone else is drunk. They come and hit you because they fucked up. Now, since they fucked up and it involved you, does that mean that you did something negative and now that's coming back to haunt you? No, it's just with so much negative shit around here, with so much imperfection, you're bound to get sucked in somewhere. Somewhere something bad is going to happen to you. Because when you got people that aren't perfect, right? No one's fucking perfect. So when you got people that aren't perfect, they're bound to fuck up. So if they fuck up and it just involves your life, it doesn't mean it's like, that's why I don't really believe in karma. Now don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to go and try to keep doing, doesn't mean I'm not going to keep trying to do good in life. It just means that I don't believe that if you do a bunch of positive, then you're going to get a bunch of positive, because I've been down that road too. I've been down the road where I try to do nothing but bringing people up and trying to help people out and bringing people up and trying to help people out. Like, you get what I'm saying? And there's still negative shit that happens. Not being able to get a job just because that there's literally a mark on a piece of paper preventing you from getting a job. Do you know how frustrating that is? Like, a little check is preventing you from getting jobs that can change your life. Now, there are instances where individuals that have felonies, certain felonies, can go and get their record expunged after 5 years of either completion of parole, probation, or their sentence. So my 5 years are already up. But with it costing $3,000 to get, felony expunged, like, right now, I don't have $3,000 to get my felony expunged. Reason being is, right now, I'm trying to buy a fucking house. Like, that's another thing they don't ever teach you. Let me take the bag. Going through the process of trying to get a loan for a house, and then looking for the house, and then right now with the housing market being as it is, like, it is impossible trying to get a house. So right now, everything I have tied up is trying to get a house because, I've been homeless before. You know what I'm saying? I know how it is to lose everything, but just because you may have absolutely nothing, you might be living underneath a bridge, you might be fucking living in the trash can, you might be living in a dumpster, you might be squatting in someone's house. Like, as long as you put your mind to something, as long as you really want something, you can achieve it. But you better realize that you're going to have to put a lot of time and a lot of work in to come from the slums to make it on top. You can't give up. What the fuck are you doing? You going to give up? Okay, then what? You're 30 years old. You have the rest of your life. What you going to give up on? Huh? How long are you going to give up for? What you going to give up on? Like, you literally can't give up in life. Oh, I give up. What are you giving up? What, you just going to stop going to work? What, you just going to stop eating? What, you just going to stop paying all your bills? You can't give up. The only thing you can do is pick those fucking reins up and ride even harder and try to do even more than what you was doing before. You literally cannot go backwards. time does not go in reverse. Time keeps going forward. So if you keep trying to push and push and push to go back, you're not going to gain anything at all. There's literally only one thing to do in life, and that's try to achieve more. What are you going to purposely try to achieve less? How about no? No one ever said that. You know what I mean? The reality of prison is it's your home away from home, regardless if you like it or not. You can accept the fact that you're going to be there for years and try to better yourself. And anyway, physically, mentally, spiritually, you got a lot of these dudes that, I grew up in a very, 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 very strict religious household. So, growing up, going to a Christian private school, trust me, I've heard about God. You got the ones, they're called Bible thumpers, right? Or Bible pushers, whatever you want to call them. They're the ones that go to church service and they have found God. So now that they've found God, now they want you to find God. And they are not going to give up until you have found Him your motherfucking self. What it's like if you do go down this rabbit hole, what's on the other side? I'll tell you what's on the other side. Fucking prison. That's what's on the other side of that fucking rabbit hole. Stay away from the rabbit hole. If you go down this other rabbit hole though, what you're going to find is my fucking subscribe button. Now, what I want you to do is hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notifications button also so you're first informed when I upload. This was just a little, I get pros and cons. As always, I send my utmost love, loyalty, and respect. Have a good day. Keep your heads up, alright?